Ladies and gentlemen, Formula One fans, buckle up, because the 2026 season is already delivering the kind of drama that we live for. We've got secret engine modes, insider accusations, a teenager rewriting the history books, and a four-time world champion saying his car is practically impossible to drive. All of this happened in one weekend in Shanghai. One weekend. Let's start with the bomb that Lewis Hamilton just dropped on his former team. Picture this. It's post-race Saturday in China. Lewis Hamilton just climbed out of his Ferrari after finishing third in the sprint. He's calm. He's composed. But then he says something that sent shockwaves through the entire paddock. Lewis Hamilton, the man who spent 11 years inside Mercedes, who knows every single secret of that Silver Arrow operation, who helped build that dynasty, looks straight into the camera and says, paraphrasing, "I know exactly what they're doing. They have a special engine mode for qualifying. Something like the old party mode. They flip it on in Q2, and we don't have that." Boom! Let that sink in for a second. This is not just some analyst speculating from the outside. This is Lewis Hamilton, the guy who won 6 world championships in that car. The guy who helped build that dynasty. He is not guessing. He is telling you from personal experience that Mercedes has a hidden ace up their sleeve, and it only comes out when the lights go green in qualifying. And you know what makes this even more convincing? The numbers back it up. Look at what happened in the sprint qualifying in Shanghai. In SQ1, the very first segment, Hamilton was only a tenth of a second behind George Russell. 1/10, basically nothing. They were technically even. Then SQ2 hits. Suddenly, the gap explodes to almost 8/10, almost a full second. And in SQ3, still more than 6/10 back. That is not a coincidence. That is not just tire management or setup differences. That is a step change in performance that only shows up when qualifying gets serious. And Hamilton saw it, he felt it, and he said it out loud. The same pattern showed up in the GP qualifying. Hamilton was close in Q1, manageable in Q2, but in Q3, he's 3.5 behind a 19-year-old kid on pole position. A kid driving Hamilton's old car with, apparently, a button that Hamilton no longer has access to. That had to hurt. And here's where it gets interesting, because Lando Norris, who runs the same Mercedes power unit in his McLaren, fired back almost immediately. Norris said, and I love this, maybe he's remembering the old days. I don't think Mercedes still has that. And then he dropped the coldest line of the weekend. Sometimes, when you're a little bit behind, you start creating things in your head. Oh, Lando, ice cold. But wait, is Norris actually right? Because think about it. Norris finished 3 places behind Hamilton in qualifying and was nearly 2/10 slower. So if there's a secret Mercedes party mode, it sounds like somebody at McLaren didn't get the memo. Or maybe, and here comes the juiciest conspiracy theory, maybe the factory cars get a slightly different tune than the customer teams. It's happened before in F1. It would not be the first time. The fuel injection maps, the electrical deployment strategies, the energy harvesting and release from the hybrid system. These are incredibly complex and incredibly secretive variables that teams guard like state secrets. And Hamilton knows that better than anyone alive. And right now, if this content is hitting you the way it's hitting me, smash that like button. Seriously, it takes 1 second, and it helps this channel keep bringing you the inside stories that mainstream media won't break down like this. Hit it. Do it now. Let's keep going. Because we need to talk about Kimi Antonelli. This 19-year-old Italian kid, Kimi Antonelli, just became the youngest pole sitter in Formula One history in his second Grand Prix weekend, driving for Mercedes, the same seat that Lewis Hamilton occupied for over a decade. And what is Hamilton doing? He's sitting in a Ferrari, half a second back, telling the world that this kid has access to a weapon that Hamilton no longer holds. The symbolism of that is almost too good to be real. Antonelli doesn't just beat Hamilton to pole, he does it in Hamilton's old car, with what Hamilton believes is an engine mode that Hamilton himself helped develop. In China, where Hamilton had some of his most iconic F1 moments. If you wrote this as fiction, people would say it's way too on the nose. But now, let's shift from the front of the grid to what might be the most alarming story of this entire weekend. Max Verstappen, four-time world champion, Red Bull Racing, and right now, he is in trouble. After a horrible sprint race, where Verstappen got swallowed up at the start, dropped to the back of the pack, and then had to battle his own teammate Isaac Hager just to score points. Red Bull worked through the entire night. They changed the setup, they adjusted the car, they tried everything. And then Verstappen got in the car for qualifying, drove it, and came on the radio with a message that should terrify every single Red Bull fan on the planet. He said the changes made absolutely no difference whatsoever. He said the car is completely impossible to drive. And he said, and this is the quote that haunts me, "Every lap is survival. I can't push because the car just doesn't allow it. I don't feel like I'm in control." Max Verstappen, the man who made a Red Bull look like a fighter jet for 4 consecutive championship seasons, the man who drove the RB19 to one of the most dominant title defenses in the history of Formula One. That man is saying he cannot control his car, that he is simply surviving each lap. He ended up 8th on the grid, a full second behind pole, in a car that he says he never properly adapted to since the new regulations came in. Think about that. The new technical regulations, the ground effect overhaul, the new power unit rules completely neutralized what made Verstappen and Red Bull so devastating. And right now, while Mercedes and Ferrari are going at it up front, Red Bull is watching from 8th place, while their 4-time champion uses the word survival to describe what it feels like to drive that car. He even went off track while battling Hajar in the sprint. That is not the Max Verstappen we know. That is a driver fighting a machine that is working against him. And his outlook for Sunday's race? He said, paraphrasing, "Even if nothing changes, we'd just be the 4th best team, and it's not going to be a fun race." 4th best team, from the team that won the Constructors' Championship last year. So let's zoom out and look at where we actually stand in this 2026 season, because the picture is wild. Mercedes is dominant in qualifying, and if Hamilton is right, they have a weapon that nobody else has cracked yet. A 19-year-old is on pole. Hamilton is in a Ferrari he's still figuring out, already deep in the politics of engine modes and insider knowledge. Norris is in the McLaren, claiming Mercedes' superiority without the party mode, and still couldn't match Hamilton. And Verstappen, the reigning champion, is telling the world his car is impossible to drive. This is not a settled 2026 season. This is chaos. Beautiful, dramatic, Formula One chaos. And we are only 2 weekends into the year. The Hamilton saga is going to be something we talk about for months, because he came to Ferrari with a promise that this would be his final championship run. The Scuderia dream, the perfect Hollywood ending. And right now, he's watching a teenager take pole in the car he helped build, while his new car might be missing a crucial piece of the engine mode puzzle. Hamilton is not panicking. He's analyzing. He's communicating. He's doing what champions do, finding the problem before solving it. But the gap is real, and the clock is ticking. And Verstappen, let's not write him off, because we've seen this before. We saw him struggle in 2022 at the start of the ground effect era, then adapt and destroy everybody. But the question is, can Red Bull find the answer fast enough this time around? Because the competition in 2026 looks deeper and more dangerous than anything they have ever faced before.